I hereby call the Brockton School Committee for Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020, it being 7 p.m. I am going to first call the meeting to order, establish a quorum. Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Attorney Minicello?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
I'm going to ask us now, please stand and salute our American flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
School committee members, please stay standing. Everybody, please stand. Going to take a moment of silence for Brockton native Sergeant Elder Fernandez, who was a proud Brockton High graduate, 2015 in the greenhouse. Again, he was brought back home last night. Again, if we could give a moment of silence for the sergeant and his family. May he rest in peace, and our prayers and thoughts to the loved ones. Members of the school committee, we do have a pretty good agenda this evening. I want to thank, of course, BCA for working diligently on this, and we wouldn't be here without Melinda. So thank you, Melinda, for everything you're doing. We are agenda number 1. We did that. We saluted the flag. Agenda 2 is hearing of visitors. It's my understanding there are none. We will now go on to agenda item number 3, which is our consent agenda, A, B, C, and D. Is there any school committee members that would like to take any of those out, or would we take those collectively? What's the will of the school committee?
Motion to approve items A, B, C, and D
Collectively?
collectively.
So motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. Before we vote on that, I will read consent agenda. A is the approval of the minutes for August 11, 2020 regular school committee meeting. B is the approval of the minutes for August 2020 curriculum school subcommittee meeting. C is the approval of the minutes for the August 25th, 2020 policy subcommittee meeting. And then D is the last one. It's the acceptance of notifications of personnel actions, leaves of absences, resignations, and retirements. There is a motion on the floor to take A, B, C, D collectively. It was properly seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? It passes unanimously. A, B, C, and D. Thank you, members of the committee. We will now go on to item 4, which is a report of our esteemed superintendent of schools, Mike Thomas. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to bring up Dan Vigent, our Director of Instructional Technology, who will give us an update on where we are with laptops and Wi-Fi devices. So, Dan, you're going to right over there so we get out of here.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So today we're going to talk about a couple things, primarily the laptop distribution and how we plan on supporting the staff and students in FY21. Before we begin, as you can see on the slide, it's a technology services presentation, but the reality is it took pretty much every department in the district to come together and put this together. Whether it was facilities or food services or parent registration or bilingual department. It took a lot to make this happen, so as we go through, it's important to keep that in mind. Let's see. Next slide, please. So the ultimate goal was to supply each student with a laptop that was less than 2 years old. That's the ultimate goal. We call it that because we had to do this in phases. Phase 1 was utilizing the existing laptops we already had in the district while using what we call just-in-time new laptops to make sure every student has a laptop for the start of school. Just-in-time basically means we ordered 12,000 student laptops, and we were fortunate enough to get about 5,000 in as an ETA of prior to September 14th. The other 7,000 will be coming in the next 2 weeks after that. So what we plan on doing is utilizing existing laptops, plus some of the laptops that already were issued in March and April, and the new laptops to get us to our student count of 15,850. If you want to see the breakdown, if you look, the blue, what we call the blue laptops, those are our student laptops that we issued roughly about 4 years ago. This year, we would have taken them out of circulation, as we like to end of life our devices around 5 years. So we're trying to be cautious about how we're utilizing the blue laptops, and we'll talk about we'll dive into that a little bit more in a second. What we call the black laptops, and that's literally they're blue in color and they're black in color. It's just the way we identify them. The black laptops were purchased within a year or two. There are newer laptops. They perform much better than the blue laptops. The blue laptops are still adequate for the most part, but we really want to get the black laptops and the brand new laptops into the hands of the students as quick as possible. So in the schools right now, we have 3,335 blue laptops. That's distributed between all the schools, various numbers in each school. We have 3,758 black laptops, and my staff have been working all summer prepping them, refurbishing them, getting them in as pristine condition as possible so they can be used throughout the year. In March and April, we deployed roughly 6,000 laptops. Those were in use all school year and through some of the summer programs. Out of the 6,000, we're still counting on, at least in the first couple of weeks of September, we're still counting on at least 3,257 of them to be usable and to be used during the school year until we can get the rest of the brand new laptops in the third and fourth week of September. So we're kind of pulling in everything to kind of pull this off so that at least at the first day of school, all the students have their laptops. The third and fourth week of September, we'll most likely be calling in parents that have the older blue laptops and ask that they come in and get a brand new laptop. We'd much rather have the student using a brand new laptop for the rest of the school year, if possible. It'd be a much better experience, and that's our plan. So if we look further down, the ETAs, when we purchased the laptops on the left, the lower left-hand of that slide, when we purchased the laptops, we were given rough ETAs, and I don't know if you read the news or if you're on bulletins, but these ETAs are all over the place. Supply chains are having very difficult times getting product to customers, whether it's food or computers or what have you. Those were our initial ETAs. The ETAs are now have been hardened. If you look to the right, we're looking at 3,000 laptops by September 7th. And actually today we delivered 1,000 new laptops to the high school, and Dr. Murray has already begun assigning them and scanning. What they have to do is they have to scan the serial number, assign the student ID so we can keep track of who has what. So the school's going to do that and then hand them out. So they're getting a jump on it, which is what we need. We need to kind of recover some of this time because these ETAs were really tight. By the 14th, we'll have another 2,500 laptops. So that 3,000 and that 2,500 gives you that 5,500 that you see up above. Now, it doesn't mean on the 14th we're delivering 2,500 laptops. Every day we're delivering laptops to schools. The schools will receive them, they will scan them, they will start in a student ID, they will contact the parents and come and get the laptops. So we're trying to do this as expedient as possible to get the laptops in the hands of the students for the start of school. If you look, the last 3 weeks, September 21st, 28th, and the 5th, on the right it says swap out the blue laptops. That's what we're going to be doing. The goal will be once we give all the students their laptops, as the new laptops continue to come in, we're going to swap them out with the older laptops. So by the end of probably the second week of October, we can hopefully have all the students with brand new laptops. That doesn't mean the laptops that they have now aren't working. It just means it's a better laptop. We purchased them for this purpose. We want to get them. We want to get the new laptops in the hands of the students. Next slide, please. So purchasing laptops and handing them out, honestly, is daunting as a task as this is probably the easy part. Actually using the laptops in an instructional setting and then supporting the laptops is where kind of the magic happens. So purchasing the laptops obviously is the first step, but then we got to figure out how we're going to support them. And one of the concerns we had was, do the homes have internet access? Because if you have a laptop and you bring it home and you don't have internet access, the laptop's more or less useless, okay? So what we've done is we've kind of attacked this at two different angles. We've worked with Comcast directly, and Comcast has a program called the Comcast Internet Essentials. Basically, they get 2 months for free internet access, and Brockton acts as a mediator. So it's still a contract between the home user and Comcast, and we act as a mediator. We help facilitate getting the package signing up for the free service, all that. And then we're going to actually extend some of the supplemental payment of that product, I believe at least till December, if not beyond, obviously probably until we don't need it anymore. We worked with Comcast, and we're estimating about 2,000 of those packages from Comcast. With Verizon MiFi hotspots, if everybody's not familiar with a hotspot, it's basically you can take an iPhone and turn on your hotspot. It creates this Wi-Fi coverage. That's what this thing is. It's just not a phone. You can't make phone calls with it. It's purely a hotspot. It creates a Wi-Fi coverage. But in terms of conceptualizing what this thing is, it's basically a cell phone that gives you a Wi-Fi coverage. It uses cell coverage. Brockton has pretty good cell coverage, actually, especially with Verizon. So we're confident that that's going to be a good service to provide for the homes. So that will be 5,000 homes that we're trying to supply or supplement their internet access. We're estimating probably about 3,000 families are going to need this, but we're trying to plan for the worst case scenarios. You never want to plan for the best case scenarios. If the best case happens, that's great, but we plan for the worst case scenarios, so we're trying to get this up to 5,000 homes. We're working with the Parent Registration Center and the Title I departments to vet who needs these, how do we get them to the families, and how do we keep track of them. Again, with ETAs, just so you know, the Comcast Internet Essentials, that's on demand. Comcast is ready to go. There's a little bit more legwork and a little bit more of a lift up front to get Comcast working in the home. Verizon MiFi is probably the preferred option. It's very easy. We just literally hand them a hotspot and then off they go. With that, literally every school district in the country has just ordered Verizon MiFis. I just heard, I think there's another 500,000 MiFis in production right now from Verizon to try to accommodate the demand that the schools are putting on Verizon. We put an order in for 3,000. 1,000 of them have already arrived. We're already working with the Parent Registration Center and the Title I to get those to the families. Another 1,000 ETA is September 16th, and I'm working with Verizon to figure out when we can get the third 1,000, but we're in hopes that with the 2,000 Verizon MiFis and the 2,000 Internet Essentials, we can at least accommodate the immediate needs and then kind of rework it a little bit as we get the additional MiFis. So that's the home internet access, that's the student laptops. Parking lot Wi-Fi, this is going to serve a couple of purposes. So our Wi-Fi, they're in the buildings. We've always had them in the buildings. And that's literally just the wireless access that you see in the buildings. Our buildings are built like bomb shelters. I believe actually 4 of them, the Compass schools, were bomb shelters. Wi-Fi does not, what I call, bleed past the buildings. You know, if you're in a house and you have Wi-Fi, you could probably walk 20 or 30 feet into your yard and still get your Wi-Fi. In these buildings, you walk 5, 10 feet away from the building, you're losing the Wi-Fi. So we worked with Cisco, our Cisco Meraki, our wireless provider, and we purchased additional exterior Wi-Fi access points that we're going to hang on the side of the building and also put a couple on each telephone pole in the parking lots, and that will create a coverage area in our parking lots. It'll serve a couple of things. During the school year, if the home internet is down for whatever reason, parents would have an option to drive to school and actually still use our internet access if they had to. Also, the parking lot Wi-Fi, if we get it in time, could also be used during an orientation if we have the orientation the first couple of weeks of school and they need to do something or want to do something. Wi-Fi with the laptops out in the parking lot, it's available. Again, we're dealing with ETAs. The ETA to have the Wi-Fi up and running in the parking lots is September 16th. So again, very, very tight ETAs. It's really day of, and it's the best we can do. And just to back up for a second, and anecdotally, if the superintendent asked me a year ago what the timeline would be to deploy 12,000 brand new laptops, another 6,000 used laptops, put in parking lot Wi-Fi and set up 5,000 home internet things, it would be a year or 2 project. We're going to do all this in 3 months, and we've already begun, obviously, over 2 months ago. So just to know, we've compressed basically 2 years of an IT project into 3 months. Staff laptops, our teacher laptops in our admin staff in general, their laptops are also coming up on the 5-year mark. So we would already plan on decommissioning them and refreshing that fleet. So we purchased 2,000 laptops. They're already at the vendor. The vendor's busy working on our student laptops, so we're going to hold off for a few weeks on our staff laptops. We're prioritizing the student laptops right now. Once we're done October 5th with the student laptops, the vendor's going to roll right into provisioning all the staff laptops, and then we're going to start cycling out all the teacher laptops, give them all new laptops, cycling out the admin staff laptops, give them new laptops. And I've been told that we're also going to be using what we call, I guess, support staff, so paras, MTAs, things like that, to help with the instructional side. A lot of the instructions using video conferencing. So we're going to take the laptops that we're getting back from the staff, cull the lot, get the best out of that group, refurbish those, and give them to the support staff as well. So basically, all Brockton staff have laptops and are able to help provide instructional support during the year. Next slide, please. And then obviously you can't have any support without the help desk. With the help desk right now, actually in March, what we did was we already had a staff help desk. Obviously, we have a staff help desk phone number, a staff help desk email, and a staff help desk support page. We quickly created a parent help desk email and a parent help desk phone number, and we staffed that throughout the year to get us through March, April, May, and June. This time around, we're expecting even more calls on the help desk. It was we received a lot of calls on the help desk over March and April and May, and that was with 6,000 laptops in an environment where it was a very kind of shotgun style, here's your laptop, let's do the best we can. This time around, obviously, everything counts, so we're expecting more calls on the help desk, and we want to make sure we can accommodate that demand. So we're building up a 20-plus phone system call center. What that means is there's going to be one number to call for the parents, and it's just going to be like calling your bank or another organization. You're going to get a call attendant. It's going to say press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, 3 for whatever languages. We're going to have multi-language support. The bilingual department is going to help us actually support the help desk. So we can accommodate any kind of language needs that we come across on the help desk, and we did come across quite a few in March and April. So we're trying to be better prepared for that, and the bilingual department stepped up. And we're going to actually teach some of the staff some basic tech support so they can try to support them by themselves, but we're also going to be able to conference call my technicians in with the bilingual staff and actually do conference call tech support so we can make sure to accommodate needs even if there's a language barrier. So again, it's a call center. They're going to press 1 for English, press 2 for a different language. Once you get there, do you need hardware support? Press 1. It's going to bop you to our generic tech support or our traditional tech support. If you need software or instructional support, press 2, and it'll bring you to a whole different call center that we're establishing with the instructional departments. So that's it in a nutshell. Honestly, that sounded probably quick and easy, but the reality is I could probably talk for 3 more hours on the actual logistics of making this all happen. But that's what we've been up to. That's what we've been doing and working very hard to make sure we're supporting and we're deploying the technology, but also supporting it. And that's it.
Mr. Minicello, please.
Dan, I just want to thank you and your staff. Obviously, this is a huge undertaking. How many people do you have that are out there, helping you implement and basically insert all these computers and get them up and running into the system right now?
So my department right now is a department of 18, I believe. We just had a retirement. 18, and we have another one put in for early retirement. The superintendent has opened up 6 more positions. We're doing 5 more technicians and 1 more network admin. So we're hoping to have about 24 staff, which is still a difficult number to use to support all the equipment. But again, also it's important to know it isn't just my department, and it never has been to a certain extent, but especially nowadays, a lot of other departments have jumped in. The instructional technology departments, even the bilingual departments, other department heads. So it is an all hands on deck, but in terms of pure technology, trained, certified, experienced techs, we have 18, I believe, and we're going to add 6 more.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You basically, I was mentioning it to the mayor, you basically just hurt yourself, because when you try to tell us that something's only going to take you, you're going to need 2 or 3 years, when we know it's a 6-month to 8-month project, so, the cat's out of the bag, buddy.
Yeah.
So,
I've been doing this for over 20 years. 15 in the school system, 5 as an engineer, and 3 as an analyst in the private sector. And I'm telling you right now, I would never have committed to these timelines in a million years. Usually, we have plan A, plan B, and C. We're all the way down to plan D on this one, because this one it is a miracle. It was a miracle, not just that we could accomplish it as Brockton, but actually receiving the equipment. I'm sure you've seen some of the horror stories about supply chains, but I'm telling you right now, I'm on the Mass Tech Director's listserv, and I'm watching director after director jump on board and say, what are you guys doing? We just were told we're not getting our laptops till November, December. I've heard of a district not getting the laptops till February.
Right.
So things have really, I do want to thank 2 of our vendors, Oakers, who's right here in Brockton, and Acer as a manufacturer. I think a year or 2 ago, they moved their manufacturing from China to, I believe, Taiwan or something like that, and I think that had a lot to do with some availability. So we were very fortunate with who we aligned with, and it's more than luck, to be honest with you. It is strategic what we do. This is what I did in the private sector, and I know, how to line things up. So we were very fortunate that things really did fall in line, because there's some other districts that are kind of hurting right now.
Well, I know you know how critical it is to get the tools into the hands of the, students.
Yes.
And the more months that go by, the less, they're going to be able to, use and
Yeah.
have effective learning. So we appreciate it, and we know that you're up against it, but the kids and the families and the parents certainly are going to appreciate it, and we certainly all do in this room. So thank you for the hard work.
You're
And please let your staff know that, we know it's a lot of people involved and a lot of
Yes.
hard work and commitment, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just had a quick question. So, 2 questions. I used to do some work for Comcast. So the Internet Essentials program used to have parameters where the household, and we all qualify here in Brockton because of the free and reduced lunch federal program, but it used to be either a household would qualify if they had never had internet, or if it was a 90-day. Have they waived that?
They've waived a lot of the eligibility requirements. From what I
Okay.
understand, I would have to double check, but I think they've waived all the ineligibility requirements or eligibility requirements.
Fantastic.
From what I understood, if you had an outstanding bill,
Yep.
if you were a previous customer,
Yep.
there was like 3 different requirements that was causing problems back in March and April. And from what I understand, they've waived all that. So they've been very good to work with. So that's why we're
Excellent
still
news.
using
That's
it.
great. And then my last question was, I know when we got kind of caught off guard, everybody got caught off guard, we had to go remote. There are actually some teachers that didn't have internet in their own homes.
Yep.
Have we been able to rectify that issue as well?
So moving forward, the off-the-cuff answer is I would say we would utilize some of these MiFi devices. I believe there were at least 2 instances I've heard of teachers that did not have
Yeah,
internet
it was
access.
just a handful.
Yeah, it was just a handful, and one way or the other, they got through it.
Yep.
But we're more formally prepared now to supply that kind of support and technology. And, we are ordering thousands of things.
Yeah, no,
like I
that was
said,
great.
yeah, the plan I have and the plan you saw today was worst-case scenario. I always try to plan for worst case, because if the best case happens, that's great.
Yeah.
But that's the worst case. So I'm assuming what's really going to happen is somewhere hopefully in the middle, and we'll have, probably 100 spare MiFis to give out to staff
give out.
if they need it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Vice Chairman, please.
Well, first, I want to make sure I thank you and your staff for everything you're doing and putting this together so quickly. As you were saying, other districts are not nearly in as good a shape as we are. And clearly that was strategic moves on you and your team's part to get us in this position that we're in. So I appreciate that. And I wanted to mention that I really do recognize what an undertaking it was. I think we all do, because your department has faced years and years of being cut and trimmed or put in for extra positions and had those denied. And again, just because of the financial situations we were dealing with, unfortunately. And then little did we know this was going to happen. And so I appreciate just everything you guys have done. And I know you're still a little light on staff too, but to be able to put this all together the way that you have, again, knowing that it's not like you've been getting everything that you needed for several years straight. So it really says a lot about you and all the people that are working, with you.
Thank you.
So I did have one question. I had one of the city councilors reach out to me and ask about this, and so I wanted to find out. There are not many, but some areas of the city where, yes, there is internet available, hardwired internet available, and the customer may have it, or the family may have it, but it's a little less than stellar. So my question is, what's the determining factor on getting a MiFi? Is it just, economic need? Is it if service isn't available or isn't stable for that family? Could they get?
Right. So that's a bit of a hot topic actually around the state with the tech directors. And I was just reading emails today talking about just that. What is the eligibility that the schools are putting in place? And what I read today was it can't be based on income. It can't be, there really was none. If they needed it, we needed to provide it. If I understand it correctly, the charge from the state is if a parent says they need a laptop, if a parent says they need internet, we need to provide it. Now,
Okay.
the issue becomes if it becomes a floodgate where
Right.
it is tough to get some of these services right now. So I'm in hopes that we don't get 10,000 requests for internet access and people start taking advantage of it. That would be a concern.
Right.
But from what I understand, if they ask, we need to provide it.
Okay, so right. I mean, obviously, the economic need is obviously a big issue, but like I said, there are some parts of the city that just stability of available services is an
Right.
issue. So it's good to know that we can help them out too.
Yeah.
Great.
And we're actually even looking, again, while all this is going on, we're actually looking at a cellular option that came across. We get sales calls all day long, and 99% of them I try to avoid because they're just fluff. But one came along that said instead of Wi-Fi, try to use cell towers on your schools and do a cellular Wi-Fi, if you will. And cellular and Wi-Fi are just two different animals, the penetration, the bandwidth, all that. So we're actually looking at that. That would be like a phase 3 or 4. That would be putting something on the school's roof and then actually getting out to the neighborhoods. Instead of like the Wi-Fi we're using is the traditional Wi-Fi. It's the Wi-Fi that's available everywhere. You only get about 100 feet. So you put it on a telephone pole in your parking lot, and you're probably going to liven up that parking lot, but you're not going to get the housing or the residential areas next to it.
Right.
There is a cellular option we're going to look into in the next few weeks to see if it's a pie in the sky, something that somebody's trying to sell, or if it's legitimate. If somebody tries to sell something like that, we always ask them to come in and demo it, and let's see if this thing's for real. If it is, that'll expand our ability to provide internet access apart from Comcast and Verizon.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
One final question. Now, you said you'll be with the new positions that have been posted. You'll be at 21. Did I catch that right?
I believe so. It is a moving. I know it's horrible. Like, how many staff do I have right now? But with the retirements, and we did have positions open, and then they got
Right.
removed when COVID hit and all that. And I'm just
Right.
having
Well, I
trouble
guess.
figuring out exactly what number I have right now. But I believe it's around 18, and we're gonna add 6.
Okay. So I guess what I was wondering, and I've asked you this in the past too, what number of people is adequate staffing in your department? Based on everything you're trying to support right now, I'm just.
Right. So I'll make it quick because I could go crazy with this conversation. But I worked in
Maybe
the
I should say
private.
within
I worked
reason?
in the private sector. I won't name the name, but it was a number one company in the world in industry. They were a manufacturer. We had 1,800 computers. We had 30 people in the IT department. When this is all said and done, we'll have 20,000 computers with 24 people. So in terms of what I've seen and what works, it
Right.
could be it will be an interesting conversation. In terms of this environment and school systems in general, what we're trying to achieve, I think, at one point, if I recall, the state's recommendation was a technician per every 550 devices, and that would put us at like 40 technicians or something like that. But, we do make it work well. We do hire quality people. We are able to do a lot with a little. So, ultimately, if we had 30 people, I think we would be better able to serve the district.
Right.
More than that is great.
Right.
But, 24, we're going to do our best with. We do our best with 18. I mean, I do have a great staff. I still can't believe what they can accomplish in such a short amount of time.
It really is impressive.
It
so.
is. Oh, it is.
And given that, 30 is quote unquote adequate and you're at 18 rolling this whole thing out
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
great and very impressive. And I know we really appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Any additional questions? Mr. Sullivan, please.
Dan, I wanted to thank you as well, and your staff for the great job. And I was just thinking back, it was about a year ago when you were here, and you were trying to get to one-on-one. It was going to be a long road ahead. It looks like on this, you're here.
This is the silver lining. We've been saying this for the past week just because we're finally getting our heads out from underwater, and we can actually have some brevity, I guess, with some of these conversations, because before they were tough conversations. But we have mentioned in the last few days, the silver lining in all of this is we're one-to-one after all this is said and done. Yes, definitely.
And one other question, is there a telephone number for this help desk?
So, yep, with every laptop, there's gonna be a handout sheet with the parent help desk, the staff help desk number. So the staff have a dedicated help desk support phone number. They've always had it. It's what we've had for years. The parents, we established that in March. We're gonna keep that, and we're gonna publicize, and it'll be on our website, it'll be on the handouts, but they'll have one phone number to call, and there'll be an automated call attendant like you have in your bank, and through there, we'll get you to the right department. If you need instructional help, we're gonna get you to that call center. If you need tech support, we're gonna get you to that call center. If you need help, but there's a language barrier, we're gonna actually connect with the bilingual department to help facilitate that tech support.
Dan, do you have that phone number now
Lisa, do we have the?
for the people at home?
Sure.
Yes, 508-416-0973.
Is there? Can we put it up on the screen, maybe?
We'll get it on the website tomorrow, city site and school
We will
site.
We
Yeah,
text it out as well.
yeah, we'll get it out.
We'll text it out.
Yeah.
Just one final question, Dan. It was from a parent. He has a broken laptop, and he really doesn't know what to do. He wants to trade it in and get another one. Where can he go, or who can he call?
So the parent help desk has been open. We've never shut it down, so it's been open since late March. If they call the parent help desk, they'll get to the help desk. The help desk will create a work order. We'll send instructions to the parent of where to go and come swap out that laptop. We've been doing that all summer, all year long, really.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions from anybody? Thank you, Dan. Have a
You're
good night.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Superintendent.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Dan. Great job.
You're welcome.
So basically, we'll be in two phases. Schools will be giving out these laptops. The principals will be making calls next week to their families. They'll be given out by school. We're going to do the laptop give out first, so every student has a laptop before September 16th. And then we'll work together, with our teachers to set up the meet and greets, which will be done a little bit different, because we were going to have the meet and greets and do that to give out the laptops, but once we started planning, it was impossible to wait till the first day of school, have the meet and greet, give out the laptop, and then the teachers couldn't be teaching. So, and obviously we have a high school of 4,000, so it has to be done a different way there. So we're going to be rolling out the laptops first, which is most important to get every student a laptop, also identifying who needs Wi-Fi access. And then after we start school on the 16th, we'll talk about how we need to bring students in who really need the help. We'll obviously start with students in high-risk categories, special ed, bilingual students, and then we'll bring students in who need that help, obviously outside. These will be done outside, but it has to be done in a way where students are able to work, be spending their day learning on the computer, because the first day of school is the 16th, and then how to find out how to bring some of them in for a meet and greet to give them extra support. So that's how we're going to roll out and start the year. But we have to get the laptops out right away. So that will start next week. It will be done by school. Principals will be calling the parents from the school they attend, and it'll be much more manageable to be able to give it out through each school, whereas obviously in April we ended up doing it at the high school for everyone. But this will be a much better system, much more organized, and then parents can connect directly with their principal at each school. So I think it will go well. So next I'm going to bring up June Saber-McGuire to talk about, just give you an update on student schedules. Again, these are still being worked on. Actually, they're pretty much done, but we should be finishing these with the bargaining team within the next 2 days. They have not changed much from the templates that we showed you early, but we just wanted to make sure that, I think we did these last week, I believe, in a subcommittee meeting, so we just wanted to make sure we did them again today so parents are able to see. And these will be, once they're finalized, they'll be sent out. So obviously parents know the schedule that their child will be going through each day in the full remote schedule.
Good evening. So as the superintendent said, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about just updating you as far as the reopening schedules. Again, this is still, as you know, in negotiations, but close to being completed. We're also going to talk a little bit about professional development and then the launch of Schoology. And so this is a sample schedule that we've shared with you in the past. We think that it's important that our families and our students understand that this schedule is constructed to look much like it would if students were in person, and yet we understand and want our families and of course our teachers and our students to understand that it isn't a matter of sitting in front of a computer all day long. And so when you look at the schedule and see a 9:15 to 9:55 what I need now block, that could be a combination of direct instruction with the teacher, as you have come to know as synchronous instruction, and then there might be an opportunity for students to work in small groups through breakout sessions, and then there could be an opportunity for students to work individually with their teachers and also to do some independent work. So when you look at those blocks and think about a schedule where you might see later, again at the elementary level, 11:15 to 11:45 is ELA and writing. The way that looks isn't about a student sitting in front of a computer, a kindergarten student, a 5 or 6 year old, for 30 minutes straight without any opportunities to be engaged with other types of learning experiences. But what we did work to build was a schedule that pretty much replicates the school day, meaning that the expectation is that our teachers and our students will be working together in various types of opportunities and engagement from 9 o'clock in the morning until their regularly scheduled dismissal. Similarly, at the middle school level, you'll notice that the schedule really does replicate the hours of the school day. And again, much like we just talked about with the elementary schedule, it isn't a matter of the students being logged into a computer between 8 a.m. and 2:30 in the afternoon, but more about how are we going to use those blocks of time to create engaging types of lessons that students and families can expect on a regular day-to-day basis. Similarly, again, the high school, it's the same approach, K to 12, where we've built the schedule to replicate the school day. And I'll say again, for our families, for our students, for our teachers, that the expectation is that the way this looks isn't that you're in period 1 from, I can't quite see it, I think it says 8 o'clock to 8:35, but that students aren't sitting in that class without having opportunities to engage in various learning activities. Again, professional learning is going to be incredibly important. We talked about this at the curriculum subcommittee meeting. We talked about the idea that we need to focus on deepening learning. We're talking about how we're leveraging leadership to support school improvement, and that technology was going to be critically important for us during this period of time. We also talked about the 10 days that the commissioner had approved and how important that was. And just to be completely candid, 10 days really isn't enough. And so because if you look at the curriculum, that we're not just asking teachers and students to engage in this new world of remote learning, but we're also asking them to look at the resources that we are already providing and to really transition them into a remote learning world. And so we talked about this at the curriculum subcommittee at the elementary level. The major curriculum resources that we're using are Envisions, and again, that's math And we use Envisions through Math Workshop. We're using Discovery Education for science. Reach for Reading is our reading resource and foundations. And so our literacy coach, Dr. Julianne Andrade, is working with the literacy coaches across the district to ensure that the way that those resources are implemented are engaging, and that, again, we use this word robust in this remote learning environment. Similarly for Dr. Heather Ronan, working with the STEM coaches to do the same for when you look at Envisions and Math Workshop and Discovery Education, what does that look like in a remote learning environment? At the middle school level, we're launching Carnegie Math Solutions across the district. We talked at the subcommittee meeting about the fact that we had piloted this in several middle schools last year, but decided to go ahead with a full launch this year. We have actually the next 2 days are focused on the professional development to support the teachers and the implementation of this particular resource. The same with Amplify Science. We launched last year at the middle school level. Newsella, Amplify Reading, and Study Sync are 2 ELA resources that we are piloting using the Department of Education process that they've developed at the state level that is meant to be an exemplary process for which to make curriculum selection. We're excited about the high school launching Carnegie Mathia because the goal is to have a 6 to 12 math resource within the next few years. And so launching the Mathia, when I say Mathia, that's the instructional software. So if you look back to the middle school, you see Carnegie Math Solutions. Mathia is the instructional software built within that resource. And Mathia is again, the resource that we're launching at the high school. Newsella, again, you see it there for social studies and English, so that will be 6 to 12. And the high school has spent a lot of time planning on 10-day cycles of instruction, and that they have a real focus on social emotional learning and teaching and creating safe and supportive environments. And so we talked about those 10 days that have already begun. It's hard to believe, but our teachers were back yesterday, and you can see the myriad of topics that they are definitely engaged with right now, whether it's social emotional learning, Schoology, the safety protocols, common planning, lesson planning, curriculum and department-based initiatives, school-based initiatives, orientation planning. So as I hear Dan talk about the enormous work and certainly impressive work that the technology department is doing, and I applaud them for that work. On the other side of things in curriculum and instruction, there's a whole lot going on, and we are really expecting quite a bit from our teachers in terms of, and these are all topics that we focus on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a remote learning environment or in person, but at the same time thinking about how we're transitioning to a completely remote world at the same time as considering all of these not new, but new in the sense that we're now transitioning and paying attention to these very important topics in a remote learning world. And so the learning management system, we talked about that again at the curriculum subcommittee meeting, and we talked about, and we think it's important for people to understand that what a learning management system is a software platform that allows teachers to deliver educational content, and it gives them a platform to organize that content and to think about how they're creating, changing, they're assigning assignments to students. They can grade through this system, and it's also a really effective way to communicate to students and families. And so we explained that we had put a K-12 team together who went through a very extensive process, and this resource that we decided upon is called Schoology. I know people have trouble saying it. We've heard versions, Schoology. Jess and I were laughing about it today. We were saying practice. It's Schoology. So we're excited about it and what it allows our families, our teachers to do, and on the instruction side of things is to build course content, and it's about using existing content and being able to embed it within this platform. It also allows for virtual instruction, and there's lots of opportunity to collaborate, not only between teachers, but between students. And it is very easily accessible for teachers to access student work, and teachers can provide written feedback, and they're also able to provide video feedback. And it's also differentiated, and we're in the process, when I say differentiated, for age and grade level, so the way we're going to build out that content will look different K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12. And so other features that we, as again, an LMS team, thought were really important were that Schoology allows us to send instant communication to students, to our faculty and parents. It enables our students to be actively participating in discussions and collaboration, and it's easy for teachers and students to use. We are offering training for faculty prior to the opening of schools, and in fact, that training started today. There was a 2.5 hour, although I'm sure teachers were engaged for a longer period of time today, and there were over 1,000 Brockton Public Schools educators and support staff who took part in this training today. And by all accounts, or not all accounts, but by many accounts, people were feeling really positive and excited about using this platform. So here, again, the training today, the one that I just mentioned, the first training is a Getting Started self-paced course. That's the course that our educators engaged with today. We have live training throughout the year. I think 38 hours of live training, and much of the way that Schoology builds their training is that they'll come in and do a live training, but we're able to record that training, so we'll be able to use it with other faculty members across the district. And the support from the Brockton Public Schools staff, and again, this is a huge undertaking, and as a matter of fact, Dr. Cancel, when he came in, and I knew that this had happened, there's a glitch, and I think hundreds of emails went out across the district from Schoology because of a glitch. But those things are going to happen, right? Because these are the people that are, or these are the offices that are supporting the implementation of this resource, and it really is a big lift, whether it's the Office of Teaching and Learning, again, the Office of Accountability, Assessment, and Data, the leadership at the high school, the associate principals at the middle school level, and the instructional coaches at the elementary level. So those are the people that we've really focused upon in order to be able to build out what the professional development looks like for them, so that they're able to best support the teachers who are on the front line, and they're going to be the ones who are using this resource to connect with their students and families. And so Jess put together this really nifty video, and we're really hoping it's going to work. Do you want me to try it, Jess, or do you? The rectangle. I mean, we do have the tech director here, so no pressure, Dan, if we can't get this going. So thank you for staying. No pressure. I really didn't mean to put Dan on the spot, so.
Oh, there we go.
Can you see Judy?
What's that? All right, now where's the video?
So to begin assignments, your child will log in every upcoming event Clever, so you can access that by going to our website. Assignments will also be available here and clicking the Clever. So I'll briefly show you what they'll log in using their BPS username and password. So in this case, and then Junior here has been assigned a discussion page that looks like this. He'll read what the assignment is, and then he'll put his feedback here. Then he'll click post. Hello everyone, I'm Jessica Silva-Hodges. I am the Chief Public Relations Officer for the Brockton Public Schools. And today we're going to give you an overview of Schoology. Before we begin, I want to caution that every teacher will use Schoology differently. So we're just focusing today on showing you the essential functions of Schoology so that you and your child are as prepared as possible to start the school year. So to begin, your child will log in every morning through Clever, so you can access that by going to our website, bpsma.org, and clicking the Clever login. They'll log in using their BPS username and password, and then they'll be brought to a page that looks like this. As you can see, there's a section for recent activity, which will be updates from the district, the school, and their teacher. They have their course dashboard. They have their upcoming activities, includes any pending assignments, and their morning meeting or their calendar invitations. They also have their messages from their teacher. They have a calendar, which again, in this case, we're using Junior Boxer. His teacher has assigned him a morning meeting. That morning meeting will be assigned differently depending on the teacher. In this case, if Junior were to sign on every morning, he would just go to his calendar and join his morning meeting at the appropriate time every day to do attendance and to connect with his classmates. So I'm going to show you the courses, what this page will look like. So your child will log on, they'll go to their course, and they'll see updates from their teacher. Again, they'll see their assignments and any upcoming events. And then their assignments will also be available here. So I'll briefly show you what different assignments could look like. So in this case, Junior here has been assigned a discussion from his teacher. He'll read what the assignment is, and then he'll put his feedback here. Then he'll click post. He'll go back to his materials and he'll continue his assignments. One thing I failed to mention is each assignment has its due date beneath the header, and the deadlines are also available here. So we'll go through a sample of what a assignment would look like. Junior already began this, so we'll go through and I'll show you what this would look like. So this was a drag and drop. So as you can see, there were 3 options, and Junior dragged hurries into the answer. He'll go through and he'll continue dragging and dropping. And this could be different with every assignment. It could be multiple choice, fill in the blank, or in this case, drag and drop. And here is text box for other assignments. Once Junior is done, he's going to review. He has a chance to go back to certain questions he's not confident in, fix those. Otherwise, if he's confident in his submission, he can click finish. It's also important to remind you that As we saw earlier, because he had already started this assignment, if for any reason your child wants to take a break or grab lunch while they're doing their assignment, the work will be saved here so they can just resume where they left off. So since junior is done, we're going to click finish. We're going to be asked if we want to submit the activity, and we click yes. So now I'm going to go back to his classroom. And those are the essential functions of Schoology. Your child will be using his or her messages, calendar, course section. They'll also be using their materials and updates. And this section here is particularly important for parents because you'll be able to see all their upcoming events and pending assignments. So as I said before, this is just to show you the essential functioning of Schoology. Our beginning few weeks of school will be focused on getting students comfortable in and confident with using this platform. So there may not be a ton of preloaded content at that point, since we want to make sure students are focusing on learning the platform first. Thank you.
So thank you to Jess for putting this together so quickly. I have to give her a hand. And thank you to Dan. See, did actually save the day, Dan. Thank you so much. Sorry to put you on the spot that way. I appreciate it. So as Jess said toward the end of the video, this is just, again, a short video to give families an idea of what Schoology looks like, but we are going to plan to offer some professional learning, not professional, but family training sessions where we can have some virtual opportunities to meet with our families to help and to present this and to be able to answer any questions they may have. So as I said earlier, today was the first day. It was the launch. We had over 1,000 educators who engaged with the 2.5-hour plus training session, and we're looking forward to working with them to support this platform. As much as we're excited about it, we also have to acknowledge nothing replaces in-person learning, but if we can build a learning platform that allows us to truly engage with our students and our families, then that will absolutely benefit us during this period of extended school closure, well, not school closure, but remote learning for our students and our families. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Ms. Saber, thank you very much for your presentation. I think the school committee wants to acknowledge the work that you and the curriculum people, as well as the joint committees, have been putting in. We all know that this is something that no one anticipated. Certainly in the spring, no school district was prepared for it, but you and your team put together work. Parents were criticizing, saying that certainly things weren't handled in terms of, kids finishing out the year with their assignments and curriculum that needed to be done had they been in school. But your team did the best they could with the time they had, scrambling, trying to have some productive time for our students from basically March to the end of the school year. And now we know how hard you and everyone has been working to try to get this situation up and running so that we are remote with computers and curriculum and learning and teaching. To just say to the public, well, we're going to teach remote, we're going to give everyone a computer. There is so much more into this to have this type of a teaching platform take place effectively. You have to have the curriculum. You have to have cooperation with so many people, and your team and the administration, the executive team have been working so darn hard. It's so funny or ironic that when we're in tough budget cycles, the first thing that people always yell about is, We need more teachers. We need to have less supervision. We need less supervisors. In a crisis situation like this, you need an effective amount of technology people, curriculum people, supervisory people to get this whole program up and running so that the teachers have what they need. But in order to give the teachers what they need, you need the back room that prepares the platform going forward. And when I say platform, I mean not only the hardware, which is Dan and the technology department, but the software, the materials, the curriculum, So I just want you to understand and know, and the public should know, how hard the people behind the scenes, your team, and I would like you to actually take a moment to call out the people that have been contributing to getting this up and going for September, because there's just you guys are just so deep into it, and the school committee is one step over, and we're not involved in the day-to-day getting this thing rolled out for the public. So could you please acknowledge your team and who has really been contributing, in addition to certainly all of the support staff that's involved with helping you as well?
I can definitely do that, and hopefully won't forget anybody. I mentioned Dr. Andrade, who is the pre-K to 5 early childhood ELA and social studies coordinator. We have Dr. Heather Ronan, who's our pre-K to 5 math and science coordinator, and then the literacy and STEM coaches at the elementary level who work directly with them. And again, our principals, our assistant principals at the elementary level. At the middle school level, we of course have our principals, our associate principals, and in their dual role in the past of content leads, have done a tremendous amount of work leading the curriculum initiatives, and definitely, pre-COVID, during COVID, and certainly right now, launching all of the resources that we shared with you tonight. And again, at the high school, we have our department heads, our curriculum department heads. Our deans have really stepped up and into this work in a way that in the past they may not have had to, in terms of working directly with curriculum. And so all of those people have been tremendously important. And there are so many others. There are teachers who have really engaged with this work. We've found tremendous talents out there. If there, Dan talked about silver linings, and there have been some silver linings. We have been able to capitalize on some of the talent that we have in this school district that have really risen to the occasion and have emerged as leaders in ways that we may not have recognized pre-COVID. So many people. There are just so many people who have really engaged with this work in ways that we hope that will absolutely make a difference when we have our students back in front of us, even in this remote learning environment. In launching, as I say that, when I think about, I know Dr. Cancel sitting to my left, and his office has just really been behind when I think about the back end of things, and you mentioned that, sort of the behind the scenes. Launching Schoology has been no small feat. It really is. And we talked to somebody from a different community, and they've been engaged with Schoology for 5 years, and he commended the work that the district has done in such a short time, and that he recognized that there are people in the district that do have some vision on as to what this can look like when implemented well. And I just, for any families that are listening to us tonight, or students, one thing that we have to recognize is with any technology, there are going to be bumps in the road. I even think about the superintendent's convocation yesterday. The mayor had to walk across the street in order to be able to address our teachers. So those are the things that are going to come up.
I actually ran, June. I didn't walk.
You did?
It was that important. I ran.
You didn't look like you did. You looked very cool, so you played that off
I
very
ran.
well. But those are the kinds of things that we're all going to have to be patient with as we launch this new, again, way of schooling, and hopefully it'll be very temporary. But thank you for those comments.
Well, I mean, it's going to be
Michelle.
that old saying, pressure makes diamonds. We have a lot of diamonds here associated with our school system. It's going to be important, obviously, for our staff to tend to the buildings, to make sure that cleanliness is job one, basically, to make sure that when the kids are here and when our staff is here and when the teachers are here, that the buildings will be tended to, and for as much as possible, safety and cleanliness is going to be conducted, daily and/or whenever it needs be. Overkill is better than underkill with regard to this type of a situation. So, at all levels, we just need the public to understand that we are doing our best, and we are all committed. We are all committed to the education of our students. We know how critical time is, and we know our students need to be prepared to go forward, and we're all ready for it. And to our teachers, I'm so glad that we are going to be moving forward. We have a great plan to move forward together. We're going to need cooperation from every level, and it's going to be so important for the teachers to certainly be creative, think out of the box, be engaging, get those students interested, because there are so many kids that need to be drawn into the lessons, that need that attention, because if we don't get them involved and we don't get them hooked on this type of learning, the alternative is not going to be good for this city, and we're up for the challenge. So thank you and your team and everyone associated that's been contributing in every way, shape, or form.
Thanks, Mr. Minicello, but also thanks to June and the team and the executive team for their hard work. We also had 70 members of our reopening committee that did a lot of work, build-up work on the schedules, and this was teachers, it was the executive team, it was principals, and it was Cynthia was with us, parents, all our union presidents were with us from every union. They met every Wednesday, we met every Wednesday, and then they met, it started back in, I think we started it in May, and we met every Wednesday throughout May, June, July, August, and then people met on their own. The groups, there were 5 subgroups, and they met on their own, and a lot of work came out of that as well. So, I mean, it was just pretty much almost close to the entire school district doing something different, because there's so many parts to this, so many moving parts. So, obviously you have your curriculum, then your technology, but then communication, getting everybody on the same page, safety and security. I mean, just so much that goes into it that, I think everybody in the school system took part. It wasn't much of a summer for anyone, so I appreciate everyone's hard work. It was a team effort, but we got a long way to go as well.
I also want to resonate what Tom and Mike has already said. Thank you for everybody that has contributed to this. When my first impression of seeing Schoology, right, I pronounced it right? You guys had it color-coded, so that helped. Schoology was like, this reminds me of like a college online course. So I think that's awesome for preparing those students that do want to attend to college and seeing the online. Yes, ideally, we would have want this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but the fact that we have it kick and running now, and we could use this once kids are back in the school buildings, I think this is awesome. This just shows that we're moving forward and we're improving, and we're on the right track with the district. Obviously, there's always going to be room for improvement, but this, like, just looking at it is very impressive. And like you said, with technology, there's going to be flaws, but I think this is great. Also, I wanted to ask a question. I think I have my answer, but I just wanted to ask, with the self-paced courses, so for example, if we do the half-day sample when students are working independently, how would this look like? And how will we know that they're using this time and using it wisely? Because if staff are going to be doing PD, then students are going to be held accountable for that time for themselves, correct?
That is correct. And so as the teachers are building, and we're talking about the asynchronous part of the work, there are analytics built within this resource that allows the teacher to see the level of engagement. That's if it's an assignment that requires the students to be engaged with the content in Schoology, then the teacher would be able to monitor that level of engagement through an analytics tool. And again, once we have more training and we have a better understanding of how that works, we can come back and share that with you.
So they'll be getting the data then. They get the data of how much time.
There is definitely a metric built within the system that allows the teachers to see the level of student engagement.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you again, and the superintendent mentioned, of course, the district reopening team, because when I look at, and we presented those schedules tonight, that all came out of the work of reopening teams. And so the number of people involved in these 5 slides were just, you really can't quantify the number of people who are engaged with this work. And I do have to mention Karen McCarthy, too, in my title in my office, because she's worked really closely with Dan and his team to ensure that our families have access to Wi-Fi. So that's what I mean, like, there are so many people that are involved that I don't want to in any way not mention, because, I mean, I would say every individual in the district has been involved and is so important to the launch of our remote learning platform. So thank you.
Thank you. Any?
Any additional questions on that at all? We'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Hello, everyone. I'm
this idea came out of stakeholders and community group, and this is, next is parent support for technology. So when we had our meetings and our stakeholders and communications group, and Cynthia was a part of that, all our union presidents were a part of that, and 2 parents were with us, and a parent came up with a great idea of super users, that parents who are very savvy with technology to perform, actually become trained in the platform like a Schoology, Microsoft Office, and Teams, and then these parents would become trainers for other parents. So tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, I have a Zoom meeting, and I think Cynthia's with me as well. And we have members from the NAACP, the Education Committee, Sabora, the Cape Verdean Association, the Haitian Association, members, the Nancy Centers, the chair of the North Community Center, and the Community Center Oversight Committee will be with us. Somebody from the YMCA, somebody from the Boys and Girls Club, a member of the Brockton Day Nursery. So there's probably about 25 to 30 parents and community members and community leaders that are going to meet with us tomorrow at 6 p.m. To go over how we're going to roll this out, to go over how we can train these parents to be super users and get them savvy with Schoology and with Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365, Zoom, all the different platforms we're going to use, and then they can set up times where they can train parents. We're going to try to do those outside, those trainings. So we're going to try to roll this out. I appreciate the input. I appreciate Cynthia's help with this, and also our union presidents who worked with us in the communications group. That was a great idea, and we're going to start rolling it out tomorrow night at 6 o'clock and start scheduling trainings. And so we have parents supporting other parents in all the different languages. I thought it was a great idea. I think this is going to be very successful and very helpful to the community.
We're calling champions helping champions, right?
Thank you, yes, champions helping champions. So I think it's going to go very well. So I want to thank everybody who's volunteered, and then if there's others, they'll work with us. Oh, BIC is with us as well. Members of the Education Committee from BIC will be joining us in the meeting, so we're really looking forward to rolling this out. And then finally, for me, before the budget update, is the equity and diversity update. And as you know, we have the subcommittee. We have several members of all the members of administration have taken the courses from eCornell. 127 teachers took the unconscious bias course over the summer, and that was voluntary. So we appreciate our teachers taking part in that. I appreciate Sharon Wolder's work with her Equity and Diversity Task Force, who has laid out trainings for this week as part of our PD in Equity and Diversity, using our Equity and Diversity checklist. And I appreciate the school committee forming the subcommittee that is going to drive this work. I look forward to the day when we're able to open an office in the school department of Equity and Diversity. and hire somebody to actually lead that work and grow that office as we go forward. So I just, this is being rolled out well. We have to support our teachers of color. We have to support our students of color. We have to make sure that teachers, our guidance counselors, our social, for our adjustment counselors, when we start school on the 16th, are ready to have conversations, open and honest conversations with many of our students and families who've obviously been affected by the social justice and violence issues that have gone on. We have to be ready to take that on head-on and obviously have those tough conversations and engage our students and our faculty in those conversations. So again, this is important work that has to stay in the forefront, and we will continue to do it, and I appreciate the school committee's push for this, and also, by forming the subcommittee, and I think it's obviously work that stays in the forefront, and we look forward to doing it together. So I'll bring up Aldo, for his update on our budget and also on the Plymouth County CARES Act. And I know the mayor will want to jump in for the check ceremony that took place, I think, on Monday. I lose track of the days now, but it was on Monday.
Good evening, everyone. So when we left off the last meeting, we had talked about the fact that the governor had made a commitment to level fund Chapter 70. We're hoping in the month of September they'll actually bring that to a vote, that the House and Senate will agree and bring that for a vote of the full legislature, so that we can then basically make our approach to the City Council to receive those funds. We, hedging on that, have pretty much already spent it. We're working on that commitment from the governor that we have it. The reason we're able to open schools is because that came around. Otherwise, we'd still be in a very tough situation. So that budget, I'm, again, monitoring every day and making sure that we're within the constraints that we've set for ourselves on the budget. What's helping us is the county. So the CARES Act funds, which the county controls, they call it the County CARES Fund. There's $90 million. They originally were giving it out in allotments. Our original allotment was a little over $4 million. They then increased it to $7.1 million from the 4, recognizing that Brockton, within Plymouth County, has the highest concentration of COVID cases. We also have 2 hospitals here, 3 if you count the VA, that many of the cases from outside Brockton come into Brockton. So the county commissioners made an effort to send more funds our way. About a week or so ago, they made another commitment to add another $4 million to it. So they have us up our allotment, and it's not us, it's the city of Brockton. It's not all the Brockton Public Schools. It's really all under the mayor's control. $16,329,000 is what they have allotted for Brockton. Now, by the beginning of October, they've asked not only Brockton but all the cities and towns in the county to get as many of their bills in as possible, because what they want to do and see is how everyone is spending. If there are communities that don't need all of their allotments, they're going to rebalance the funds. So we're hoping that, again, Brockton being, again, a city that's in the red zone, that we have the highest concentration of it, that we can maybe get additional funding on top of that. So in doing so, we've been going through now and looking at everything that we need. As you know, the 12,000 computers, the network infrastructure. We're looking at a generator right now for the central office, because if central office went down, all of our entire network is what's based there, goes out from there. So Dr. Cobbs is working on that directly. As many of you know, he's actually a master electrician, so it's great that we have his skills on that. So we're going to get that done, hopefully, in the next few weeks, get that underway, because, again, if we do have a power outage, we can at least keep the central office up and running, which in turn will keep the internet up and running. So that's a major piece of what we're doing here. We're looking also at firewalls so that we can't get any more viruses into our system, to increasing that. And again, all the supplies that you know we've been buying, the masks, the gloves, the sanitizers, the air purifiers, all of that will be coming out of these funds. And I've been working directly with the mayor and with Troy Clarkson the city CFO on these funds to make sure that, that the city gets what they need, we get what we need, but at the same time, we really want to spend every dollar of this that we can, because we can put every bit of it to use for the Brockton Public Schools, the city of Brockton, and the students.
Yeah, so thank you, Aldo. I'd just like to kind of follow up on that. We did have a check ceremony for the first round. We got $1 million on Monday, which is unbelievable. Now, statistically, a percentage of that also is for New Heights Charter School, because only municipalities can be reimbursed under the county, under the federal guidelines and the CARES Act. So New Heights was able to use us as an agent, and they will get compensated. What Aldo said is 100% accurate. I had a conversation with the 3 county commissioners, Dan Pallotta, Sandy Wright, and Greg Hanley, and also Tom O'Brien, the county treasurer. There is an expectation that we could, the key word is could, get up to 18, 19 million. December 31st, if it's not spent, it all goes back to the feds. Original 90 million. We will have a second round submission in the millions on the school side, and on the city side, millions and millions. The third round, though, is earmarked for 3 entities: the library, Veterans Services, and the Council on Aging Senior Center. So it has to be under the third round. So, we do have some really good expectations. I do know that the county, they didn't necessarily apologize, but they expressed why there was a delay, because being the only city in Plymouth County, we have a lot more warrants that I signed, a lot more POs, compared to like Halifax and Plumpton. So their outside auditing firm really kind of vetted it out, but they expressed to me and to the superintendent, and I want to thank Mike and Aldo for being at the ceremony the other day. It was also joined by Congressman Stephen Lynch was there as well. And we did it at the Neighborhood Health Center to recognize all the brave men and women of Neighborhood Health Center that have actually saved lives here in the city of Brockton. But the idea of getting it more fast-tracked, I think, is clear from me, from Troy Clarkson, from Aldo, and from Mike, and I know the county is going to work with us on that. But again, we have to look at what the city costs are, which would include overtime for police and fire that are COVID-related. A lot of the initial expenses were covered from the state. MEMA and DPH gave us a lot of PPE. The feds gave us a lot of PPE with Senator Markey. But I do know that another bite of the apple will be from the feds. As Congressman Lynch shared with me on Monday, they've already passed the HEROES Act. It's already on the U.S. Senate side. We're waiting on Mitch McConnell to see what they're going to do. But there will be a trickle-down effect that's going to help the city of Brockton. But we also just have to be clear, and I just want to make sure everybody is clear, that Beacon Hill has not given us hard numbers yet. The only thing they've done is a bridge gap through October 31st, and it's level funded through October 31. So let's hope that they come back level funded for the rest of the fiscal year, so that we'll be able to do a lot more things we need to do. But I do want to thank Aldo. He works every single day with Troy Clarkson, the CFO, and Mike as well. We talk every single day. And the number one thing we talk about, other than making sure that the remote learning is going to go off, and I want to thank Kim Gibson, the BEA, for working diligently on that, is the CARES Act. And we are going to get every single penny that Brockton's entitled to. So thank you, Aldo. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you. That concludes my report, unless anybody has any questions for Aldo.
Any questions for the superintendent? Any follow-ups? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Aldo. Items to refer to subcommittee. Is there anything, Mr. Vice Chair, that you're aware of?
I have one.
You do,
A
Mr.
couple.
Superintendent.
So I'd like to refer to, for hopefully next Tuesday, a policy subcommittee. I received the COVID policy recommended by MASC that school committees adopt. So I'd like to bring that that will be in Friday's packet. And I'd like us to go over that at a policy subcommittee meeting, and I would also ask the mayor if he could kindly invite Dr. Herman.
Yes.
To come to the policy subcommittee so we can talk about our metrics, and as we make decisions around sports, around coming back to school, how many weeks where we have to be for how long. The Department of Education, Commissioner Riley had a meeting today, and he said if you're in the yellow or in the red, you need to plan as a committee to see, where you are and how long so if you drop down into the yellow, how long do you think you're going to be there, how long you're going to be there before you make a decision. For obviously our decision, most important one, is when to bring our high risk and special ed students and bilingual students back into school. I know we have the November 19th date, but again, we agreed to continue to look at the data, and I think we would take Dr. Herman's lead, and I think we should come up with like a policy to say, you know, we really need numbers to be here for this amount of time
Yep.
to make smart decisions on when we can bring students back into the buildings. But we also have to consider, if we're in the yellow, we also have to consider whether we want to let sports go through in this fall as well.
I do, and I will do that. I'm also going to invite, we have a new hire, Dr. Eno Mondesir. Dr. Mondesir will be here. He is our new Board of Health Director. He is the new Linda Cahill, and we thank Linda for going back on the school side, Director of School Nurses. But Dr. Mondesir has a master's in public health from BU. He also has a PhD, and he's started yesterday. He's going to be awesome. So I'd like to invite him as well, if I could, if nobody objects. Between him and Dr. Herman, we'll have a lot of metrics. I do want to just caution people, the red-yellow category, as Rick Herman said to me today, we can't necessarily look at just the color, because the color is arbitrary based on a 14-day window. So we could be 8.0, 8.5 yesterday, we could be 7.1, 7.2 tomorrow. It's the 14-day window. So he will be ready, willing, and able to be here along with Dr. Mondesir. Thank you.
Yeah, so if we can schedule Melinda 6 o'clock
Yeah, can we,
next
so
Tuesday
the
night?
8th at 6, does that work for everybody for policy? No, and I think to the mayor's point, because I've heard the sports issue and had people reach out to me about it. One of the things that's tough about this, and that's why, you know, you talk about the 14-day number, it would be really tough to say, okay, we're okay, the numbers are going down, and then a week later have to pull back on that because it shifts, you know? So I think it makes sense to,
I concur. What Dr. Herman said to me today is, he said, Bob, we're not 1. You know what I mean? We're not 1.0. We're still 7 high, 8 low. We're not where we need to be. But
Right.
I'll have both those doctors here next week.
Great,
perfect.
we appreciate it.
All right.
Next on the agenda is number 5, which is unfinished business. I don't believe we have any. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, we'll
that's
move
my
on.
knowledge.
Is there anything from the membership relative to agenda item 6, which is new business?
I have a couple things. Our district review was sent back to the Department of Education. It was sent to us to review the executive team. It's not allowed to be released beyond that. And then this is a review that took place back on March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th, actually, of this this past year, March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th of 2020. The Department of Ed comes in and does a complete district review. They did it back in 2013. They do it every 6 years. So the results came in. We have to check it for factual information. That was sent back to the department, and then they will come and present that to us probably in the first or second meeting in October. An associate director from the Department of Education will come and present the district review to us. Then there'll be a plan put in place that we need to come up with a strategic plan to move forward. But again, information cannot be released yet, so when they come and present it, we're able to talk more in detail about the district review. So that is coming up, and that will have to stay on the agenda under unfinished business, and then it would move into an agenda item for pretty much, it will stay on the agenda for pretty much a long time under the report of the superintendent. And then finally, I just want to thank all the teachers for joining me yesterday, and all the staff that came back to work. And we had the Teams meeting yesterday with, I think, close to 2,000 people. And it went well. I think it went well. It was just me sitting in my office talking to a screen, which is a lot different than being up on the stage here and talking to a
Next year, Mike.
auditorium
We'll be there
full of
next year.
1,500 people. So you tell a joke and you don't hear anything. So it's like, I think that joke just fell flat. And it's just you sitting alone. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do, because you're just sitting alone and you don't know, you can't hear a reaction, you can't hear anything. So, but I appreciate Everybody's, you know, they're back working hard. Again, most of everything that's going on for PD is remote, but I know that several people are in their buildings. I went by buildings today and parking lots were full, and people are in getting classrooms ready, and just, I think they're just not, they're happy to be back to see each other. And again, people have the option to work remotely during the PD days, but several people have come in, and I just think it's people just want to see other people and that they haven't seen in a long time. So I really appreciate the hard work from our teachers and our support staff, because like I said at the convocation, this is the hardest work they're going to have to ever do. Nobody signed up to teach remotely. None of us went to school to teach this way. We all love being around people, and the hardest teaching they'll ever do is teaching in the remote world. So I appreciate them being back with us and all the hard work they're putting in to get ready for September 16th. And I appreciate the mayor and Mr. DiAugustino being at the convocation yesterday, which is always the custom to have the vice chair and the mayor speak and welcome back the teachers when they come back on the first day.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We do have another agenda item, which is number 7, which is executive session. As such, I'll read the following into the minutes. Committee will enter into an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purpose of conducting strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as conducting this deliberation in an open session would have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. The committee will not return to open session following the executive session. I need to have a motion on that and take a vote. Is there a motion? Motion made by Mr. Minicello, second. Made by the vice chair. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries. I will now take a roll call vote to enter executive session. Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino? Yes. Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez? Yes. Mr. Minicello? Yes. Mr. Rodriguez? Yes. Mrs. Sullivan? Yes. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
We have an unanimous to enter executive session. We'll take a 3-minute recess.